What a crazy week we had. Silver and gold definitely on the downward spiral. But what does that mean? Is it forever? And is that bad? Absolutely not. It is not. And I had to consult some experts, such as this article, to figure out what's going on, why things are moving. But I have some answers for you that you're going to want to know. From what I can see, even though prices have dropped on screens like you have seen them, the need for silver and gold really haven't changed primarily in their function. It's in our tech, as you know, you can't build smartphones or laptops without them. It's definitely a part of our energy as we are still popping up solar panels on roofs across this country. And it's definitely still a safety net, as Americans have used silver and gold for anchors to keep their savings from drifting away. And that's part of what has led to the big sell-off, which we'll get to in a second, is that we're not the only people that are holding on to this stuff. The banks were pretty big on that as well. But it does pose us with a choice in this reality today. You have speculators, the people who try to make a quick buck. They started buying when silver shot up, and they might have been buying, when silver was $60, $70, $80, $90, maybe $100, who knows. But they're the ones feeling the heat tonight as this volatility hits. Most of us have been buying this stuff for a long time and might have pulled in when silver was $8 or $12 or $18 or $30. And we're doing okay. We're still doing okay. So that being said, as markets get ready to open again, we'll be watching the divide between the paper price and the physical metal. But for now, the messaging from the vaults is one of resilience, and in the classic American story, how people like Warren Buffett and so many others created their wealth. When a crowd runs away in fear from things like this, the wise observer looks for a bargain. So we have a couple of news stories that will affect this type of thing, and honestly the stock market as well, so that you understand why the bottom line this week was not very good. Obviously, the first one is we're going to go with the Federal Reserve. The folks who act like the referees, basically for your money, met this week, and everyone was hoping that they would lower the price of borrowing money, what we call interest rate. We obviously had a variable with the war and everything going on, so they blew the whistle and said not so fast. Because the cost of things like snacks and gas is still rising, the Fed decided to keep the rates right where they are. For Wall Street, that was like getting a lump of coal for Christmas. Stocks dropped because investors realized the easy money era isn't coming back quite yet. Then we had the second issue, which is the one we all know about, the conflict in Iran. The overseas situation in the Middle East has entered a third week. And this is the big story for much of the world because that's the gas tank, the Strait of Hormuz. It's tiny, when it comes to global water, but it's a highway for the world's oil, and it's seeing major disruptions. When it's hard to move oil, the price of oil goes up. That makes sense. This week we saw it flirting with $100 a barrel, and when energy costs more, it makes everything else more expensive to build and ship. That's a double whammy for the stock market, which brought us to the tug of war, where we have silver and gold versus, let's say, paper. Our shiny stuff. So gold and silver, as you know, went down this week. We'll talk about how much here in a second, which surprised a lot of people because usually when there's a war in volatility, metals go up in value. So why did it dip? The big banks who have been buying up a lot of our metals had to sell a bunch of their metals this week to cover their losses in the stock market as it started to go down. And that creates a flash sell of sorts. The price tag in the store fell, but the metal itself didn't change in its value of how it's being used throughout the world. Gold is still trading around $4,500 an ounce, and silver is near $70 an ounce. We'll talk about those in a second. While the people trading digital numbers on screens are panicking, the steady, persistent buyers, the people who hold real silver or gold in their hands, they're seeing this as a flash sale. I know I sure am. They see this as a chance to buy forever money while the big city traders are distracted. And here's the bottom line. It was absolutely a rocky week. Between the Fed's tough talk and tensions abroad, the markets are feeling the heat. But as we have seen throughout American history, when the crowd runs away in fear, the wise observer looks for opportunity. So now you see the big sell-off primarily came from people trying to cover their losses in the stock market. Let's look at that stock market and see if it echoes that hypothesis. As we look here at the Dow Jones Industrial, 45577, down 443 points, or almost a full percent. I'm not a big skier, but I know that would be a very hard mountain to ski down. Very, very steep. S&P 500, 6506, down 100 points, or 1.5%. Take a look at that. And then we have the S&P over here, which traditionally has been much more volatile, but as you can see, it's actually much less of a dramatic drop than the other two. It's at 21,647, down 443, or 2%. Very crazy times. Obviously, we're not too far still. We're within the same quarter of our all-time highs for these two markets, but definitely not for the NASDAQ, whose all-time high was around Halloween last year. And then we have the world. Almost every single person is in the black. I don't even need to read all of them, but there are some heavy hitters. Brazil's sitting at 2.61% down. We have France down 2%. Basically, everybody has been down 1% or so, and that's because everyone needs the Strait of Hormuz to be open, because that's where a lot of trade comes through, a lot of oil comes through, and a lot of people are definitely affected by that. We go down Asia Pacific. There are a couple of people in the positive. India up 0.44, and we have Thailand up 1% there. And here's another interesting note, and one of the reasons why gold and silver have had a dip. This is the Forex race, the yen, euro, and dollar, the three biggest currencies that are traded. The U.S. dollar has cut its deficit in half when it comes to value, but the yen and the euro have gone down significantly in the exact same time. So the dollar is getting stronger, which is not something I'm used to saying here. That's new territory for us all. And then the euro is going down dramatically, as is the yen. Is that a trend? Is that something that we will see kind of be a blip on the map? I don't know, but it is interesting, and it's one of the reasons why the silver and gold has kind of stabilized a little bit. And as we had talked about earlier in the year, when all of this was going crazy, we had thought that the floor of silver and gold were significantly higher than where they were 2 years ago, but we're going to be around $70. And so that means that where we're at now very well could be the new floor for silver. And gold's new floor, I don't know where that will be, maybe 4,800, 4,500, where it is now. That's a hard one to guess, but for silver, I would assume we're pretty close to the floor of this new era. But let me know in the comments if that's something you're seeing too. All right, so now we're going to look at those metals. As you can see, silver closed the week $68.62 as of right now. That is down 15% on the week, which is $12 if you're looking at it that way, which is absolutely crazy, which means year to date, yes, we have finally hit the red on the year to date. We are down $3.66 from where we were January 1st, which is down 5.06%. Very crazy week there. All right, when we're looking at gold, this week gold was down 10%. It's at $4,507, down $527 this week. But here's where gold changes in comparison to silver. Year to date, they're still up, folks. They're still up at a pretty good clip, 3.99%. They're still up $172 from January 1st, which is pretty interesting to think about. That means this week, gold is still the winner, both from the week standpoint and year to date. So it's having a better year so far than silver, though I'd still say silver is on sale, and I know I'll be going in and cashing in my coupons here shortly. Let me know if you will be too. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.